What does it feel like to have your future torn apart overnight, just as you thought you were on the brink of success? At 18, I clutched my high school diploma as though it was the only thing keeping me grounded. The next morning, my mother and her boyfriend Derek dropped a bombshell. "It's time for you to go," Mom said, her tone sharp like the chill of the early morning. Derek crossed his arms and shot me a mocking glance, as if my presence had become nothing more than a burden they'd finally gotten rid of. I stood frozen in the middle of our tiny living room, the weight of betrayal hanging in the air. My graduation cap, now a forgotten symbol of my hard work, lay abandoned on the coffee table. They had given me a single night to gather my things. I was always the quiet one, the girl who stayed up late studying, who dreamed of something bigger than this. My mom wasn't a bad person, just worn out, tired from years of struggling, weighed down by life and Derek's manipulative whispers. He'd moved in 2 years ago, and ever since, our once cozy apartment had turned into his personal domain. My accomplishments, my speech as the valedictorian, were nothing more than a distant memory to them. "You think you're too good for us?" Derek mocked as I hastily shoved clothes into a duffel bag. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to answer. His words, laced with contempt, stung, but I knew better than to engage. The reality was, nothing I did was ever going to be enough for them. I'd always dreamed of leaving, of escaping this suffocating world that had never seen my worth, but I never imagined it would happen like this, without a warning, without any real support. And yet, as I zipped up the bag, I realized something. I wasn't going to let their rejection define me. This was just another chapter, one where I would find my way no matter how impossible it seemed. With one last look at the place I once called home, I stepped out into the world. The streets felt foreign, cold under my feet, but I was no longer the scared girl I used to be. I was determined, even if I had nothing but a duffel bag and a diploma in hand. They had closed one door, but I was ready to break through others, even if they were miles away from what I had once imagined. I couldn't find the words. My throat ached with everything left unsaid. By the time dawn broke, I was already gone. The first night without her was unbearable. I ended up crashing at a friend's place, the city a stark reminder of the new life I had to navigate. No savings, no real plan, just a piece of paper from school, and a heart full of grief. I could have fallen apart, but something inside of me refused to. Maybe it was pride, or maybe it was that flickering spark of hope. I started working at a local diner, waiting tables under buzzing lights and sticky floors. Every tip, every exhausting shift felt like a small victory, each one adding a stone to the foundation I was slowly building. I signed up for night classes at the community college, balancing them with double shifts. Sleep became a rare commodity, and hard work became my constant companion. Time passed in a blur of long hours and tight budgets. I graduated with honors, got a foot in the door at a marketing firm, and worked my way up. Each late night, every missed weekend, was my silent resistance against the memories of that painful goodbye. I wasn't just getting by, I was thriving piece by piece. Eventually, I found a place of my own. It wasn't anything extravagant, but it was mine. A small apartment that whispered of independence, of hard-earned freedom. The shelves were filled with trophies, certificates, and memories. Every accomplishment I had achieved was there, a testament to my struggle. Yet I had done it all on my own, and then the envelope came. It was from her. Her handwriting was unsteady, almost unrecognizable, and the words were sharp with guilt. It was a Tuesday when I found it. She wrote that Carl had left her, and she regretted everything that had happened between us. She was asking for a chance to talk, to see me again. A part of me wanted to rip the letter into pieces and forget everything, to keep the past where it belonged. But another part, the part that could still hear her laughter, her words of comfort, urged me to meet her. I agreed to see her at a small cafe in the heart of the city. When she walked in, she seemed much smaller than I remembered, her face worn and tired. Her eyes were filled with sorrow as she began to speak. "I was wrong," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I let him turn me against you." I sat there, my coffee forgotten, as she told me of Carl's manipulation, his lies, and how he drained everything from her before vanishing. She was left with nothing, struggling to survive. I wanted to feel justified, to feel the weight of all the years I had spent fighting against them. But instead, I just felt empty, like a part of me had been hollowed out. What did it matter, all the battles I had won, if they only left me bitter? I could have walked away from it all, let it go, and never looked back. But something held me there as the silence between us grew longer. The past had a way of catching up, even when we thought we had outrun it. She sat there, broken and regretful, and I couldn't help but wonder if any of it would ever truly heal. I had spent so much time convincing myself I was better off without her, but now I wasn't so sure. Instead, I covered the cost of her coffee. I shared parts of my story, not to boast, but to show her the person I had become. I wasn't the frightened girl she once pushed away. I was strong, not because of them, but in spite of them. I forgive you, I said, and I truly meant it. Not for her, but for myself. Holding on to anger had become a burden I no longer wanted to carry. Months passed, and I heard Carl had returned to town, still hopping from one temporary job to the next, always seeking shortcuts. I caught a glimpse of him once outside a gas station. He looked older, worn down. He didn't recognize me, but I remembered him, the man who once tried to break me. I didn't stop. There was no need to. My life was the response he would never hear. In hindsight, that moment after graduation wasn't the end of my journey. It was the beginning. It showed me that family doesn't always mean blood, that strength doesn't have to be loud or obvious, and that personal growth isn't about proving others wrong, but about proving to yourself that you are right. I had built a life not to get back at them, but to reclaim myself. And in the end, that was the truest victory of all.